Don't you forget about me. Don't. That was the famous song from the Breakfast Club.
I know, it was written for this movie.
I didn't know that for the longest time, actually.
I feel like movies used to do that a lot when they would actually collab with bands, artists to write music specifically for the movie.
Right, yeah. Huey Lewis for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Awful Takes podcast. We're on episode 75.
The 1975? No, I'm just kidding. That's the first thing I thought of. My bad.
My name is Nabahi.
Hello, I'm Wallied from Sir Gator Productions.
And this is the show where we make movie recommendations to each other that either we have seen or haven't seen, and then we talk about it here on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's us.
So if you're joining us for the first time, sometimes for the episodic shows, we talk about movie news that we find interesting at the time. And then we jump into the review / recommendation. So if you're here just for that, you'll find timestamps in the description.
Cool.
Little interesting bit of movie news for a movie that we've been following for quite a bit.
A year now.
Yeah. And I guess it's kind of one of those things where, you hear about different aspects of a movie, at least in terms of, I know me, I follow movies quite a bit. So usually I'll hear rumors about a movie and then it starts production and then they get casting, so it's weird to follow a movie along its whole journey, I know, yeah. And eventually see it and know, you have different expectations set by, your own excitement level, your own anticipation, or even your own dread sometimes of is this movie going to work?
Right.
And one of the movies we've been following for a bit is this movie called The Social Reckoning by Aaron Sorkin.
Crazy title.
Written and directed.
By him.
And a trailer came out a couple of weeks ago that we never got to talk about. So I figured we kind of mention it now. It made me a little excited. Yeah. It made me interested to see it. It's not like I'm, super anticipating it, but, from the moment this movie, even when it just started getting talked about, I believe it was Aaron Sorkin in an interview saying he had ideas for, a possible sequel, follow-up movie, especially because, again, the figure of Mark Zuckerberg is so different now as compared to when, Facebook was first made and everything. So there's a lot of material there for, a different type of movie. And I guess that's what this movie looks and feels like it is like a sequel follow up to the first one, but also feels kind of different, especially in terms of this trailer. Yeah. Wally, what did you think of this trailer?
I think it looks all right. It didn't really elevate my excitement too much, but I'm still a little intrigued to check it out just because of the cast list and everything. And also just because I love seeing Mikey Madison in movies. So I'm happy to just see her in anything. Yeah. I was surprised with the Mark Zuckerberg too. He weirdly enough looks like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
But I was pretty shocked by it. Yeah, it looks all right. It does tease some stuff. I do hope they maybe expand on maybe the Instagram side. They give a little tease to that. Mm-hmm. I just will say the look did look a little kind of flat at times to me. Yeah. Did look a little gray. I mean, not like the Fincher look or anything, but it did just kind of look like just kind of standard,
I feel like it was almost like trying to mimic that style.
Same style, yeah.
It wasn't really working. It does feel very flat. It looks very gray, very dull. I mean, maybe that's what they're going for.
Maybe, yeah, but that could be.
Yeah, overall, the look just wasn't too appealing. And then same thing, with some of the performances and everything. Granted, they feel fine in the trailer, but I could see how it could kind of come off as kind of one note, especially knowing, what this is going to be about. I feel like there is intrigue there, but again, I still feel like I don't know if this is quite the right move that I would have picked. I guess I do kind of like that they did get, different actors and stuff, because I feel like it does help it feel maybe a little bit more like its own interpretation.
Different. Yeah. And also because I guess too, a lot of time has passed also, and they're not going to look exactly the same too.
Yeah.
So I do like that they made that choice.
And sometimes when portraying like figures, important figures and, people who have a lot of, history and stuff, multiple different actors can totally take their own interpretation on it.
Of course.
Which I feel like for the case for this actor, does quite nail, what I at least expect of Mark Zuckerberg, at this time.
Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, he did surprisingly well. I was really just like, wow, that actually kind of fits.
Like a beer of sorts.
Yeah. And obviously it's not the same as what Jesse Eisenberg was doing. So
of course, I
feel like it really does work in its own right. Mm-hmm. The only thing again is this does feel like a spin-off sequel, whatever, not spin-off, follow-up.
Spiritual sequel, you could say.
But then they used the musical cues at the end from the first movie.
I know, that was surprising.
I was just like,
a little bit of nostalgia there, I guess.
Now we're, now it's not really... you
got to suck them in somehow.
Yeah, that to me felt like almost kind of like a backward step of like, well... Oh, we still want you to know that this is kind of the same.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
I was surprised by Bill Burr too. I was
that was surprising.
That was a nice new flavor to see Bill Burr doing something a little bit more dramatic this time.
We'll definitely see when it comes out. I mean, I know a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people, but I know people in like the movie sphere seem interested in it. Obviously. Fincher's is such a big name, and Social Network at the time was such a big movie that maybe they might kind of pique their interest with this sequel. Who knows though? I really don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but I'm still waiting for them to show them as a lizard person. So when that happens, I will be cheering and clapping. I'll be standing up for that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So please, Aaron Sorkin, please, I need the lizard Mark Zuckerberg.
All right, we are going to be talking about a recommendation that I made last week. I kind of encapsulated it by saying, I talk about a lot about my parents, on this podcast and the influence they had in movies and stuff.
Right.
But generally, I do kind of stick with, a lot of the stuff that really impacted me. And this movie kind of jumped at mind, but also on a different aspect. This was a movie that was shown to me by my mom. I know on a lot of the episodes I talk about, my dad showing us movies and things like that. But this was one that was on the other side of that. My mom really loved, John Hughes movies and stuff growing up. I've seen this, 16 Candles. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so it's just like, cool. It's like its own little subculture of movies that happened at the time. And obviously they're very popular. They had big followings. So we're talking about The Breakfast Club, directed by John Hughes, written and produced by him.
It's crazy.
Came out in 1985. So right in the middle of the 80s, this movie was just kind of dropped. And, to my knowledge, it had quite the impact with a lot of people watching it, especially young teens. They felt like they were kind of adequately represented, whether you fall in line with some of the certain groups in this movie, whether, at the time they felt it was portraying a side maybe they hadn't really got in touch with, because there is a time in your life where you kind of where your subconscious grabs you and pulls you downwards and says, no, you're going to be here for a while. You're going to think about yourself now. You're going to wonder about your place in the world, so it kind of happens to all of us in a weird sort of way. And I feel like this movie at the time really showed that side of it, because there's a lot of different teen movies out there. Like, figure like some of the other movies I mentioned, they have like your party moments, they have, drinking, they have,
the drug moments.
So, the school social hierarchy and goes into depth and, so it's just like, this movie feels very, very different from that. I will say, especially putting it on for a rewatch, like the way this movie starts, continues throughout and ends still feels kind of unique to, teen dramas and stuff like that, at least in my opinion. But granted, maybe I don't watch a lot of them. But yeah, this movie, again, for me is just, man, I can just remember the first time I saw it. I can remember so many times I've rewatched this movie. And yeah, hearing about young filmmakers now and they talk about this movie or they reference this movie, it had such a cultural impact at the time. So yeah, I figured, and we haven't really talked too in depth about John Hughes. So
right, yeah,
a lot of people consider this, his best movie. So yeah, I figured what a great time to kind of bring this movie up.
Yeah, let's do it.
You haven't seen this movie, right, Wallied?
So I haven't seen this movie, and my experience with John Hughes goes back actually even further. It goes back to high school, actually. So I took a media studies class in high school, and the last unit we did in that class was actually of John Hughes and coming of age movies, actually. And so I got to learn a lot about like his impact on the teen movies and everything and coming of age films and how he had a big influence and impact on that. And it's crazy because I got close to watching this movie in that class, but the teacher forgot to get the permission slips because it was rated R and everything. Oh, yeah. So we couldn't watch it, unfortunately. So she ended up changing it to another John Hughes movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was, funny enough, my introduction to him. And I really like that movie. I think that's great. And then I recently got back into him because I saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for the first time, which I really loved. And then obviously with us talking about Home Alone last year, which obviously you can still see a lot of his footprint and stamp on. Mm-hmm. So going into this movie, I obviously like some of the classic films we talk about, I tend to keep my expectations pretty low and everything. And I gotta say, this film really took me by surprise. This film is so funny. It's also surprisingly hard hitting at a lot of moments. And the fact it takes place in like one location is kind of mind blowing to me. And I was surprisingly very invested in everything that was going on. Surprisingly too, I loved all of the characters in this movie. I love that each one got their chance to shine in some way. And I surprisingly related to some of them too, which I wasn't even expecting that was going to happen. And the cool thing too is like, obviously it's such a short film. So it really just, for me, just kept my attention for a lot of it. And it's also just really entertaining too. There's not like a single dull moment throughout this movie. Yeah. And I had a absolute blast and fun time with this movie.
One of the things that is worth mentioning at the start is this movie is over 40 years old now. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things you do have to keep in mind when putting this movie on is it is very much of the time period. It was meant to capture that moment in time. And granted, some things maybe don't age particularly well in this movie, but to get invested in this story and these characters, despite its age, is quite the achievement. Because again, while I'm watching it, some messages in this movie still hold a lot of relevance today. And granted, the context isn't the same of how these teens and stuff interact now. Obviously it'd be way different. But in essence, I guarantee a lot of younger people could still get across and still feel some of the emotion that's felt in this movie, some of the heartfelt moments, some of the depressing moments, some of the, struggles that teenagers go through. I don't know. It just still feels like it can have relevance today, which is particularly why I think this movie probably hasn't been remade, is because it's, granted, it is dated in some of its aspects, but it still really feels, like it can have its impact now, Granted, I don't know particularly how well, if I were to show someone super, super young this movie or whatever,
they'd probably think it's boring or something.
Exactly. They might not enjoy it, but this movie surprises me in a lot of ways. So right at the start, specifically with all these character introductions, they get across a lot in such a short span of time. because of the way they show them interacting with their different families, parents and stuff. And I swear, this is like the only time they're in the movie.
I know.
Yet the amount of times I've watched this, like my mind really takes the bare minimum that the movie gives me and it just runs with it. You know, like the introduction to Brian is just like crazy because it's like, well, granted, you don't really get the full context either.
Till later on, yeah. But his introduction is kind of funny too.
Yeah, exactly.
With his like mom and his little sister in the car with them.
Yeah, and it really shows just the pressure that these people are put under, you know, and you feel it a lot with his parent. Granted, for some of the other parents, it may not be as apparent, but later on, you do find out that their struggles are similar, you know?
Yeah. Like Claire's, obviously.
Yeah. Or for instance, getting introduced to Andrew, like him with his dad. Granted, you don't feel the full context in that moment, but later on in the movie, you start to realize, man, that introduction with his dad actually does mean something a lot different now.
It's actually really sad. Yeah.
Or you get people like John Bender, like having no parents, and he's just walking up,
school.
almost gets hit by a car, which is again like
his introduction is really funny.
Yeah,
he makes quite the entrance, you know. Yeah.
Or like Allison getting out of her car, and parents don't even pay her any mind; they just drive off.
I know,
you know, like that's very, very says a lot. Again, in such a short, you know, intro sequence and everything.
Yeah. And the thing too is like, I mean, even in high school, I still saw a lot of those types of stereotypes of like the jock kid, the emo kid, the popular girl, you know, that one rebel / kind of punk at the school, you know, and then that one like smarty pants guy, you know.
No, yeah.
But in that, I mean, obviously we'll get into it throughout, but I love how they're able to subvert a lot of those like stereotypes that you see even now in high school, you know?
No, yeah, definitely. And I like in the introductions, especially them walking into this detention and everything, there's a lot of character nuances, character moments, you know, that granted they're small. They probably don't really add up to much, but they really do feel evident to these characters, you know, watching like Brian sits down and Bender walks up to him, makes him move, and then sits down and sets up like a chair for him to put his foot on, you know. It's just a little thing. Like granted, I feel like those little moments do add up to a lot with these characters because again, we're not shown what they're like outside of school.
Yeah,
you know?
And it shows his character too, also, which I think is great, even though it is like super small, like you said.
Yeah,
you know?
or for instance, Andrew sitting down next to the popular girl at the same table, you know, or Allison walking all the way to the back.
She's in the corner.
Yeah,
yep, of course.
And again, it's like little stuff like that. I feel like this movie relishes in a lot of that and really takes advantage of that. And I am glad that this movie doesn't cut away from the school that we're in, this setting. The moment you're put in this library, which again, this library looks insane.
I know. It's like a fancy library for like a high school.
It's ridiculous. That's like a prep school library.
I know.
Yeah, the moment you're placed in this setting, the moment these kids enter this room, you are along for the ride, you know?
Yeah.
You're not given context to things. You're not shown you know, the character's home life. You're getting their perspective on stuff. And whether it's real or whether it's fake, you know, they
kind of leave it up to you, you know?
kind of leave it up to you.
And it's surprisingly well established too, which I also really love. And one thing I kind of want to touch on also, like throughout, that I think is consistently great, is just the writing is phenomenal. Like all of them surprisingly don't sound like the writer or anything, you know? I love that they all sound like high schoolers. I like that it really does kind of like put you into the shoes of all of these characters too.
Yeah. And there are moments that feel authentic. Like for instance, one of the scenes, Bender's talking about his home life and everything, and you know how hard it is. He's kind of reenacting this story, which to me, I still find this. It's
funny and sad.
Yeah, it's like a sad, funny moment. And and he's doing like this whole one man performance thing as his dad and his mom, basically getting to the point that he's, getting beaten at home.
Yeah.
And Andrew doesn't buy it. I like that scene. That feels authentic of like someone showing, their true self in a way, and
that's like
exposing them.
Yeah.
And then someone else just immediately dismissing it, especially a teenager, especially a young person. Of course, he's going to be like, I don't buy any of that. It's just bullshit,
Yeah, of course.
But granted, that feels authentic, and then the same way with the way they talk in this movie. They're cussing a lot. They're saying a lot of offensive things.
But that's how high schoolers are, though. They have no filter,
exactly.
And it's like, wow, holy crap. It felt like to me, like it kind of took me back to high school because like that was something I experienced a lot with some people that I used to talk to or that I used to hang out with when I was in high school.
And granted, like the context isn't
exactly the same.
Exactly the same or super, relevant, but even just the side of that, showing the side of them without their parents, they're with each other. And it's almost like this kind of battle, of we're all different but
we're also kind of the same at the same time.
We're also kind of the same. We're also facing pressure from parents, from authority figures, from each other, and in that social dynamic, it's like, they're in a situation where no one should feel like they're coming out on top. Yet for some reason in the first part of this movie, I feel like that's what they're all trying to do is they're trying to
one up each other,
yep. Show that they don't care, show that they're better than the other person, and that's such an interesting dynamic. And really, again, adds to the authenticity of, taking a teenage story drama, and really treating it as that, not trying to be superficial with anything, not trying to be too, too good to be true.
Right. Yeah. Or too sappy or anything.
Too sappy. And there's the right amount of it, and even with, some of the dialogue and everything. Yeah. Some of it can feel a little cheesy. But again, it's handled so well and in such small areas that, I don't mind it. I dismiss some of the stuff in this movie that maybe some people might have a bigger issue with, but for me, it doesn't really feel too distracting.
Yeah, it surprisingly didn't take me out of the movie or anything. It still just kind of felt like almost like a time capsule of itself, but also felt kind of timeless at the same time for me personally.
Yeah. Right away in this intro and everything, we're introduced to this teacher, assistant principal, Richard
or Dick.
Yeah. And I don't know. I appreciate this movie for this. So already in his intro and everything, him talking to these people, he feels very one note. He feels very just like
he's yelling. He's being the strict dictator type
authority figure. This is who he is, and that's it. And
he definitely peaked in high school,
and he's probably not going to be in the movie much. And that's one thing. Rewatching this, I was trying to really put myself as like, maybe this is my first time. Maybe let me try to treat it this way. Yeah. And almost immediately when you're introduced to him, I'm like, all right, he's probably going to be in this maybe 10 minutes, which granted he might be. But, he'll just play that same note each time, which sometimes he does kind of do. But I will say he has a few scenes in this movie where you see the other side of it, just maybe a little bit. I'm not saying you feel sorry for him. And I'm not saying you understand him completely, but you do get that other side, which again, I do kind of attribute to John Hughes of having moments for characters that you just wouldn't expect
or really care for,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's almost like shocking as to like, wait, why are we having this moment with this person when I've been viewing him this certain way this whole time?
Yeah. He's kind of unlikable.
Yeah. Almost immediately, like him and Bender, they don't see eye to eye at all.
Of course. And
their
back and forth is great though. It makes for such great drama throughout.
That feels authentic to a certain degree, because I remember kids like this in school who for some reason just challenged the teacher, challenge whoever. I don't know why.
It's more like an ego thing.
And it's funny
it's more like
because characters in this movie point that out. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Characters in this movie point that out because it's like, why is Bender doing this? He's getting in more trouble. He has this whole back and forth with him where he ends up getting like 2 months worth of Saturday detentions. And they're like, why? Why are you doing that? And he doesn't know why. And honestly, like that feels authentic because it's like when I was in school, it's like, I couldn't even imagine standing up to a teacher and trying to confront them and challenge them. But for some reason, for some other kids, it was effortless,
Yeah.
And their whole back and forth is very entertaining. It's very hilarious. Like,
it's great.
Like the comment, I laugh every time. He's like, does Barry Manilow know you raid his wardrobe? And when I first saw this, I had no idea who Barry Manilow was.
Okay.
And then I looked him up, and the first picture, he's dressed the exact same. He's got like the open collared shirt, jacket on, pants and everything. And yeah, it's hilarious. Like that's such a funny comment. Yeah, and I laugh every time.
Oh my God. Yeah, I see it. I can see it. Oh my God.
And yeah, granted, they're back and forth. It is very entertaining and everything. But later on in the movie, you do see how kind of sad it is too. How sad it is for this kid.
He locks him in the basement.
What is that? When I saw that,
the way he threatens him, I was like, damn, talk about abusive power there.
Crazy. But again, in that introduction, he shows up, leaves and everything. And then we kind of see that dynamic between all of them, like I mentioned, that struggle for almost power, struggle for, the spotlight and everything.
Wanting to feel seen, wanting to feel validated.
But then you get other sides of it. Like you get Brian, who's I feel like he's the one amongst all of them trying to connect with everyone.
He's kind of like the social awkward kid.
Yeah. And he has like his moments with every one of them, and he treats them all kind of the same, the way he talks to all of them.
Yeah.
And it's almost for him like an opportunity to connect with these people that otherwise he couldn't.
Or hopefully get a chance to at least make some friends,
Yeah.
Which makes for like a more heartbreaking thing in the second half too.
Yeah. When they're on their own and everything, you really just do get a sense of like, okay, this is the movie,
Yeah.
And that's such a strange feeling. Again, past the intro and everything, getting thrown in this detention and everything. Just that feeling of like, wait, this is probably where we're going to be this whole time, So I will say for people who haven't watched this movie, if you're not feeling it, probably like 20 minutes in, I would say
you're probably not going to like the rest of the movie.
Honestly, this may not be for you because there's no dramatic location change. These 5 principal, janitor,
custodian. Yep.
That's pretty much it. It in some ways could feel almost kind of like a stage play of being introduced to this small space and everything. And that's what you're left with.
It really takes a bottle film to like kind of another level in that sense,
Yeah. And I like a lot of the dynamics and everything. Like for instance, when these characters get a time to eat lunch and everything,
and you see what like each of them brought for lunch too.
There's a dynamic there.
Yeah,
and
it's great. Yeah.
Really enjoy that. And I enjoy like the small moments like that to really show, again, the small moments to me add to that larger picture, that these guys are truly, of different areas and everything. And I like how the first half feels like that. Yet by the end, we're left with a different feeling. But for instance, when they all bring out their lunches, like Claire has like sushi.
Of course she does.
Yeah. It's
that was really funny.
Kind of like fancy or whatever.
And then Bender's reaction, he's all, you eat raw fish?
Andrew has this big lunch bag with a giant bag of chips, like 4 sandwiches, some other bag.
Cup,
I don't know if it's like cookies, banana. You know, he has like this insanely huge lunch.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's an athlete, so it is kind of makes sense.
Yeah. That's like a funny play on that, though.
And then Brian has like this made packaged meal with like soup and all this stuff. Oh, man. And then you get to Allison, and
hers is so funny. She like takes out her salami or whatever. It like hits the statue.
Yeah. And she's putting like pixie sticks on like her sandwich.
I know. And then she puts like, what is it, like chips?
I think it's like Captain Crunch. It looks like Captain Crunch. I have no idea.
I'm like, what is that?
And like packs it into the sandwich, and it's just like, that whole scene is so hilarious. And their reaction, they're all just kind of like sitting there, like watching her.
They're just staring. Yeah.
And she full on just eats it. Yeah.
Like it's nothing. Yeah.
And then it's not really given much screen time, but then Bender not having lunch, you know, like he didn't bring anything, just kind of riffing on everyone, you know. But yeah, the great character moments, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really taking advantage of that stuff, because if I were a writer, director, and, you know, you're limiting yourself to this small space, you really do take it down to such the bare minimum of how do you portray these characters?
Right.
How do you get these ideas across, you know? And there's moments like that. Or for instance, there's shots of them walking in the hallway and it cuts to like all their shoes, you know? And even, for me, that's such a small shot and a small part of this movie, but how much identity comes across through someone's shoes, you know, especially teenagers, you know, like shows Bender with the bandana and torn pants. Like, you got Andrew with the athletic shoes and everything. Brian's wearing his shoes. Nice pants. Allison has like the Converse and everything. They're all dirty. And again, small moment, but really does add to that bigger picture.
And I think that's what's great about the movie too, is that it does, like, because it is such a bottle film, it does take more advantage of those like smaller, more mundane moments that I think most writers would probably not really think about or probably just kind of dismiss. So I really appreciate they take a lot of time to really showcase a lot of those smaller moments, like with the lunch or with the shoes, or even just the way like characters are talking with each other. Like there'll be like 10 minutes where just characters are just talking and you're just so invested in like their dynamic and everything.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts in this movie is this whole back and forth that Bender and the teacher have. Like Wallied said, Richard takes him to like this basement because Bender was just pretty much making a fool of him in front of everyone. And that got to him, you know, so he takes him. He's like, you know what? You're not going to be with everyone else for the rest of the day. Takes him to like some closet or something.
I don't know where it is. Yeah. Some dungeon in the school.
Basically locks him in there. But before he locks him in there, he has this one-on-one with him that just feels like something that you just shouldn't be watching. And it shouldn't be in this movie.
It showcases like a different layer of the film. It like unravels surprisingly.
And the way I kind of contextualize it, at least in my head, is this is a guy who is very much someone who hasn't grown, you know, past that social hierarchy that these kids are in context with throughout the whole movie, you know, like that social area, that invisible system of, no, you're here and I'm up here. And that's how it is, you know, something that's not taught, something that's not seen. It just, for some reason, that's the way the world, you know, for teenagers works, is you fall into these different categories and that's it. And here we have this guy at the top, supposedly the top of this system, but it's kind of funny because he's the vice principal. So technically he's not at the top.
He's not really the principal.
And his ego is hurt. And he is made a fool of. So for him, he stoops to the kid's level and he wants to fight this kid. And he's begging him to hit him in the face, or even tells him, once you grow up and you leave here, I'm going to find you and I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
I know. I was like,
and
damn.
Yeah.
Well, like, even like Bender gets scared by it too. You even see on his reaction, he's all,
yeah.
whoa, what the?
And it's a crazy scene. Yet again, like, this movie wouldn't feel the same without that scene, you know. That scene really does add a lot of weight to this and shows a different side of this principal that I just wouldn't think we would see in this movie. Granted, I could tell in the beginning he was getting annoyed with Bender and everything, but at no point did I ever think it would actually damage his own perception of himself, because here this assistant principal is, he needs that. He says to the kid, that's the last time you're going to make fun of me or make me look like an idiot in front of those kids, you know? And it's like, wait, why should that matter to you? This is a teenager. This is a kid, you know, and it's just, it's a crazy scene, but, and it is very short and everything, but I do really enjoy that it's there. Yeah.
And I think too, what it really showcased to me also is how some adults will also just take advantage of teens, you know, and they try to like take advantage of their, you know, low self-esteem, or the fact that they are, you know, a little bit more on the like rougher, edgier side, you know. I feel like they take that and they try to like use that like against them pretty much, you know. And I think it makes it even sadder too, because like obviously you see the reaction on Bender's face. You see he's had that experience before at home with his parents and everything, so it hits like really close to home for him. And it's like he can't even feel safe at his own school now, you know, now with this vice principal.
And we feel a lot of you know, perception with other characters in this movie who aren't necessarily there. Like for instance, you can take it as truth, you can not believe it, but the story that Bender tells about his parents, you know, hypothetically, if it is true, his parents view him in a certain way to treat him that way. And here we are, we're seeing this principal views him in a certain way to then do the same thing, you know, or to be almost willing to do the same thing, to, you know, lash out at a teenager and, you know, stoop to that level. Really does say a lot, because this whole movie again is about that perception of each other, about, you know, falling in where someone thinks you are, you know, and no matter what you try to do, that's just where you are. You're stuck there, you know. And what it takes is these people to be amongst each other to really showcase and expose, you know, their true self, their inner feelings. And it really, you see that they are all alike in some type of way, you know. They're not as apart as they think they are. For some reason, in the context of the principal and his character, from his side of things, it really does feel like the world and everything is the way he thinks it is, you know. And shortly after this scene, it is followed up with another great scene of him talking with this janitor. Very short one-on-one, yet it really does say a lot.
Especially of how like adults view, you know, teenagers and everything. It's like, it's this weird thing where they forget that they used to be teenagers too, and that they used to act the same way, you know. And it's like, now that they're older, they have like a new different perspective on like teenagers, even though it's just more of like, no, it's just a cycle. It's just more of like a thing that just repeats, you know.
And the janitor has a great moment with him of, you know, the timeless message that I hear all the time, especially, you know, in my line of work, is the principal says they've gotten worse. The kids have gotten worse as the years have gone on. You know, nothing's changed. You're the one who's changed, you know. You've been doing this for so long. It literally is eclipsing burnout and telling him that's what the problem is. And again, like I hear that so much of younger generations are this, you know, it's just that perceived notion of this is all they are and that's it, you know. When in actuality, underneath the surface, there is a lot going on. There is, you know, bad moments. There's good moments. They're often smarter than you think they are. They're often, just because they're not, exactly how you remember it when you were in school doesn't mean
they're any different than you.
Or it's any less than. It's literally the same, just taken and evolved into a different form, And yeah, it's not going to be something that you fully understand. Yeah. But this principal can't empathize with that. He's so far removed, and he's probably suffered a lot of burnout over the years of working with kids, either like Bender or like some of these popular kids, whatever. Right, yeah. And it's gotten to him to the point where he just can't even recognize that anymore. And I like that small interaction, especially with the janitor, of him saying, they're the same. You're the one who's changed.
Exactly.
And again, take that scene out of this movie and you lose that other side of this principal that granted, again, I don't sympathize with him. I'm not like, oh, I fully understand it, but it is a nice layer to have in this movie.
Yeah. And you could understand the frustration too, even though he's still super unlikable and the way he threatens him, I was like, damn, okay. But you understand where he's coming from, but I love that the janitor is the one that tells him that,
Yeah. And the janitor, like earlier in the movie, is that small moment where he's like, I listen to everything. I know about this. I know all the secrets, and I was like, that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. I like the line where Bender says he would love to learn the custodial arts.
Oh yeah.
That was a great moment.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of small moments like that in this movie that, again, I really enjoy that it's there. Really helps this movie feel, like I said, different. I feel like a lot of teen movies and things where
they kind of showcase the more bigger moments, like, like the prom sequence or the partying moments. And obviously sometimes those could be great moments and everything, but I love that this more restrains it back and it more dials it down to a more like taking detention and showing that as like probably the most, boring thing that you could think of doing on a Saturday in general. And they really showcasing it to bringing down and deconstructing like probably their most vulnerable side, that you wouldn't maybe see in another movie.
No, really though. And there's a great, part of this movie where it is just these characters talking and interacting, telling stories about, their personal life and everything. Yeah.
It's like getting to know someone, honestly.
Yeah. And I think that's why this movie has such a great, feel to it. And as aged as well as it has, is because watching this, yes, there are the over the top cheesy moments, cheesy dialogue, whatever, but with the emotional core of this movie really helps these characters to feel real. When they're recounting these stories of how they got in detention in the first place, and they're talking, each one of them, about what they did, what went wrong, in the context of their own personal side of it, you really do feel like, okay, these jumped from being movie characters to feeling like real people, even watching it 40 years later, when I watched this movie, man, I'm just like, wait a minute, this movie didn't need to do this. And I really appreciate that it's there. And it is one of those sides that I think John Hughes handles so well is, the first half, a lot of humor, a lot of over the top stuff. Yeah. A lot of great moments, but then delving into that personal side, delving into that emotional side. And that's a hard thing to do when you're managing
very hard
humor, drama, and you kind of throw them at each other and into the mix and everything. It's like, can that actually work? Right. And he pulls it off really well in these, later scenes. Like for instance, like I mentioned with Andrew talking about his dad, and how he's forcing him and trying to get him to be the best that there is. And he's not going to settle for anything less than that. And in that, you put a lot of pressure on a young kid. and his perception of himself, his perception of other people, like his story that he shares of him basically beating up this other kid or whatever really is just like, okay, that's taken from this pressure put on by his dad, Yeah. And there are moments like that, growing up as a teenager and everything, where you do feel like you're not your own person, where you do feel like, wait a minute, is that me talking or is that my parents talking? And then subsequently, like, they say, like, one of them is like, are we all gonna turn into our parents? There's like this fear of like, what the heck, I feel so different from my parents, yet in the way I interact with everyone, that's who I learned it from. Like, that's how I treat other people. Yeah. And it's like Bender, granted, didn't age super well with a lot of the stuff, but him talking to the way he talks to Claire, him constantly putting her down, berating her, berating everyone else in the room, saying offensive things, and then hearing about his other side story and the way his dad treats his mom, that's probably all he knows, Right.
And that's where he gets it from, the parents, And
then throw in the social hierarchy, the peer pressure. All of a sudden you mix all that together and it's like, what are you left with? Like,
it's like a jumbled mess.
Yeah, it's exactly. Like the way anyone is in school is just the amalgamation of all those things, of the pressure of your parents, your teachers, your friends, people you don't know. Like, for some reason you care so much about what they think, and you care so much about their perception of you. Is just like, wait, it's like, who are you even, Right. And that's such a great moment in this movie, is where these kids are all talking about that, and to me, again, it's still very surprising. Again, like, social teenage movies, things, granted, they have those moments where, and some do it better than others, but this is one of the scenes in movies like this where I really am just like blown away, because it goes on for like 10, 15 minutes and these guys are just talking about this stuff. Yet, like Wallied said, it's so entertaining and you're just so invested in it that, literally
it just flies by.
You feel like this director could do anything.
Honestly,
crazy.
And the crazy thing too with that like second half is like they're just in a circle and they're just talking, and it's like, this is probably like the most vulnerable that I've seen any of these characters throughout this whole movie, and it feels like finally, like all of them are finally opening up to each other. You get the reasons of like why they even got detention to begin with. And it's like hearing each and every one of the reasons, it's like, it's just heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking to hear. And it's just like, for me, it's like you really do gain like this totally other side to this character. I didn't even expect to see, honestly. I love the little moment where, they're dancing and everything too. But obviously before that big kind of climactic moment, that was a nice like moment of levity. And that's the thing I kind of love with this movie too throughout, is like, it's an emotional roller coaster. Like one moment you could be laughing and it's like a, heartwarming moment. And then the next moment, it's just like, it just snaps you back to reality. And it's like, dang, that hit pretty close to home there, I love that the movie can do that throughout. And it doesn't feel like jarring or anything at all, surprisingly, throughout.
No, very much so. And there is another, brief moment in this movie, but it, for me, kind of encapsulates the ending and really kind of leaves me wondering how this is all going to work past this point. And Brian has this line of, what's going to happen on Monday when we all go back to school, whatever. Here we are. He's like, I feel like we're all friends. I feel like I can,
hang out with you guys.
Hang out with you guys over the course of this 9-hour day or whatever. What's going to happen when we see each other in the hallways and everything? And that was a line for me that hit hard, because I remember being in, social groups in one situation Yet outside of that, it's like, how does that work?
It's like a different world. It's like you're in a different universe, weirdly enough. Yeah, yeah.
And it's so crazy to say that, but it is very, very true. Like for instance, when I was like in 5th grade, I attended this after school program. Yeah. And I had a certain group of friends there, or people that I would hang out with. Yet for some reason, like outside of that, we wouldn't really say hi to each other. We would see each other in the hallway or in class.
You're like strangers.
It was almost like this different playing field,
Yeah.
And granted, by the end of this movie, I do feel a sense of, sadness, watching these characters all leave and go in their different directions, because it really does feel like Brian was right, and Claire, what she says, she's being brutally honest. She's like, no, I don't think we're going to be friends outside of this, no matter how much we may want to be. Yeah. That's just not how it works. And I'm just like, wow, that's very, very sad. That these guys have such a strong connection, and they are so alike in so many ways, and here they are, they're having fun, whatever, and for some reason, some external force that you can't see is forcing you to leave that behind and drop it, because for some reason that's just the way they think their world has to work, and that's how their lives are. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that, And then you get the other side of it, of Bender confronting Claire, saying, how disrespectful that would be. How could you do that? How could you pretend like we don't exist? How could and it's just like, man, like that's those lines and everything, that moment really hits hard, Yeah, it does. I took it as more melancholic, like obviously, it is heartbreaking that they're probably not going to hang out with each other ever again. But I think more so, I feel like they've gained more of like a new perspective of not judging people just by their looks, or just judging people by the way they act, outside of the, that outside shell, there's something much more deeper going on inside, that you don't really see, and that's how I at least took it, of like, just don't really judge a book by its cover, and give everybody like a chance, and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And I feel like for me that encapsulates and really, culminates for me a lot of, what it is like to be a teenager, is, this moment was great. This day they had was great. They found people who they didn't think they would find. They feel connected in many ways that they didn't before. Probably can help serve as a lesson for them too, of, like Wallied said, not judging a book by its cover, of really, realizing there are people behind every visage you see in school or in, your life, of, behind the mirror, or behind, the face that people wear day to day, there's a real person inside of that. But I think this movie culminates that message very greatly, at least for me as being a teenager, is that these moments, while they are great, in the context of things, they can be very brief, and they can move on. And it's definitely something you shouldn't take for granted. Yeah. And it's like that to me feels very real, in a movie that really has a lot of unrealistic moments. You have a guy crawling in the ceiling of a school. Oh yeah, that was great. The roof breaks. Very over the top, but very over the top. You have a guy screaming, and the window breaks, and or you have them dancing. Do you like when they hotbox the library? Yeah. In a movie like that, granted maybe can feel a little dated, a little cheesy, that message is the most poignant, real thing. And it's not outright said, the fact that they do leave each other and the day does come to an end, and it's hinted at that, that this may be the one and only time that this happens. You can still appreciate that it was there, and you can still have those memories, and you can take that on, and it impacts learn you from it. And hopefully a positive way too. Exactly. And that to me is in essence what it is like to be a teenager, is to have those small moments with people. There are so many great moments that I had in school that literally were just a one-off day for a random set of circumstances. For some reason, I would experience something that was truly unique to that day and time. And no matter how much I wish, it could continue or it could, expand or whatever, sometimes that's all you get is just that moment, Right. So yeah, the ending and everything does feel a little bittersweet, but man, that really does for me capture what it is like to be a teen in a movie that is 40 years old. That's crazy to say.
Yeah. And obviously high school's changed so much since then, but it also does feel kind of similar too at the same time, oddly enough.
Yeah. This movie, it's wild to talk about in this way. But again, it does hit on something that I feel like, again, everyone goes through, Everyone has been in school. Everyone has gone through those social moments. You can probably, for better or worse, relate to one of these people in some kind of way, Yeah. And that was such a smart idea for a script to really showcase all those different aspects, who knows? You might even be the guy watching this older now, and for some reason you relate to the principal
or the principal. Yeah. The vice principal
or the janitor, whatever. Yeah, or it'd be like this moment of, man, these kids just don't listen.
Finally, someone gets it. Just kidding.
This director gets it. Who knows? God. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, again, like this movie, some people might not fully get it. This movie, yes, can in some instances be very dated.
It's got some crazy moments. That crotch shot was quite the
yeah.
But honestly, though, some high school guys are like that, though. So yeah, you know what?
Or the amount of offensive things that Bender says is really, really insane. But yes, like granted, how many teens talk like this? Yeah. How many teens?
I mean, I can't tell you how many high schools I have to go to throughout the school year, and I hear this so often when they're in the line before I'm about to take their picture. And I'm like, man, it really is the exact same.
It's crazy.
They really do have no filter to them.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that people will say haven't aged well in this movie.
Sure. Yeah.
But granted, I think it is just how your own personal experience can influence your viewpoint on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know there are some things that are not 100%, future proof or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, it is of the time period too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think of even movies now. I'm like, how much is that going to age, in like 20, 30 years,
Exactly. But again, there's a lot of great moments in this movie. There's so many humor moments that I love. But yeah, the one thing and the one takeaway that I have with John Hughes as the director is really, merging the two, humor, drama, and really you're left with something that feels unique,
Yeah, it feels special.
And he manages both very, very well. And this movie is really, really a great example of that, of having both and encapsulating that in the teenage life, the teenage story. Because I mean, as a teenager, man, some days you're laughing, some days you're crying, some days you're thinking about parents, some days you're thinking about friends, and
it's like all over the place. Yeah, no, exactly.
The decision to have that all, evolve through this detention day was really just such a great idea. And
it's kind of genius. Yeah. I love that.
Really,
it's awesome.
Really smart. But yeah, for me, this movie rating wise, some things, like I said, don't age particularly well. But with the message and everything that gets across, I really, really do enjoy this movie. Every time I put it on, I just find myself laughing, find myself, thinking of it in a different way. Obviously, now that I'm older, things like that. It's just one of those things where I think the first time you watch it's going to be different than how you watch it 5 years from then,
Right.
Just because you go through life and yeah, that's great.
Life is crazy.
Yeah.
Anything could happen, so.
So I think rating wise, I'm probably at like a 9 out of 10, maybe
Nice.
like an 8.5. Really love this movie. For what it does and what it achieves in the short amount of time, the limited space, liminal budget.
It's shocking.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really
crazy.
impressive. This was a delight. I really loved this a lot. I had like I said, I had no idea what I was in for. And man, this really just blew me away emotionally and everything. There's a lot of great comedic moments. There's a lot of great heartfelt moments. And there's also just a lot of hard-hitting drama moments, like especially the moment where Brian reveals his reasoning for detention was really got to me. It's like, wow, that's really sad over like something as simple as like a project, you know?
Crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, and obviously, man, the chemistry between these characters is great throughout. I love the the vice principal and the custodian. They add a really nice touch to this movie, and they add to even more of the humor throughout. And overall, I mean, it has just such a great bittersweet, melancholic ending to it that really just kind of leaves you speechless, honestly. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of great music throughout. Some of it, yes, does sound a little dated, but again, it is of the time of the 80s. But that Don't You Forget About Me song, they played, I think, 3 times throughout the movie, and it's great every time they play it.
It is great.
It's a great song. So, like you, I will say there are some things that do feel a little dated at times. I will say that crotch scene was a little much.
Yeah.
It was a little much there. But other than that, I would say that's probably my only really complaint with the movie that I could really think of. But yeah, I could definitely just see myself coming back to this for the rest of my life. I think this is a movie I'll continue to watch again and again and again and still get so much out of it. So yeah, I think rating wise, I think I'm at the same. I'm probably at like a 9 out of 10 personally.
Nice.
This was such an amazing surprise of a movie. And yeah, I mean, this has to be easily one of my favorite coming of age films I've seen in a while too. So yeah, had a really great time with this.
It's a strange experience. I mean, even watching it, sitting here talking about it, this is a movie that I've seen so many times, and this is a movie that I've experienced at different points in my life. Yet sitting here talking about it, there's just such a unspoken part of this movie of where I'm just like, it's hard to put into words. It's hard to explain what I'm feeling with a movie that's been a part of my life for, I would say, at least 20 years. It's been a long time watching this movie. So yeah, I apologize if I sound convoluted, if I don't sound super concise. It's just weird to explain. And granted, some people will have this opinion with this movie, some won't. Some people will watch this movie and they just can't get into it. I'm very curious to see now how younger people would watch this movie if this is something they would get into,
right?
Which probably wouldn't happen considering, again, how old it is. But who knows? Granted, I really am curious to see that.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for us next time?
The Batman versus Superman discussion made me realize we really haven't talked about that many superhero films on this podcast, surprisingly.
That's very surprising. Besides
I know.
Superman and then that movie.
Yeah, the James Gunn Superman. And that was amazing. I loved that movie.
That really is it.
That's it.
That's crazy. That was the first one I recommended. The first superhero movie was that.
I know. I mean, I don't blame you though. It was the 10-year anniversary and it is quite a movie to reflect on. But no, we're not going to do a DC movie next episode. I've been wanting to talk about this superhero on the podcast for a while. He's actually my favorite superhero of all time. And seeing as obviously the new film is coming out, I thought, what better time to talk about it now than talk about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man from 2002. Yeah, this is
wow.
Spider-Man is my favorite superhero of all time. I've mentioned it once before on the podcast. And this iteration of Spider-Man, at least in the live action sense, is my favorite iteration of Spider-Man in any live action form. Yeah, Tobey Maguire is like my Spider-Man pretty much, and he really showcases what I love so much about not only Spider-Man, but also the Peter Parker character too. And this first Spider-Man had such a big impact on me. It's easily for me a film I've come back to over and over again throughout my life. And it's a film that surprisingly still kind of holds up, even with its really goofy campiness and cheesiness, there's still a lot of great heart and drama to it. And there's a lot of incredible action too throughout this movie that I would just love to get into. So yeah, the first Spider-Man film is my recommendation for next time.
It's crazy, man. This was, I had to have been this, maybe Tim Burton's Batman movies, but I was really young at the time. But this, I think, is one of the earliest, had to be the earliest superhero movie I saw.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was
Me too. Yeah, this was the earliest one I saw also.
It's like 4 or 5 going to the theater to watch this. And I remember being so excited because I remember having like a Spider-Man toy or t-shirt or something. And I thought Spider-Man was so cool. And my siblings didn't like Spider-Man. They liked Superman and Batman. They would make fun of me because I was excited for this movie.
Dang.
And then we went to all see it, and man, were they wrong.
They changed their mind real quick.
But yeah, it's just crazy because it's like I remember going to the theater being very young, watching this movie, and then
that's so cool.
I even remember the second one. That was the first midnight screening I went to.
That second one is even better. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one someday too.
It's just crazy. Like, again, like this character being a part of your life for so long and seeing the multiple iterations is so cool, and then obviously now they get to acknowledge that in a great way with, either the Spider-Verse movies or No Way Home. So it's just great. And it all started for me with this movie. Like, it's going to be great to talk about because
I know I'm so excited to talk about it. This
really was the start of just, the deep admiration and love that I have for superheroes, comic books. This movie made everyone a fan. It wasn't just this weird thing to be, oh, you're a fan of superhero film, whatever. And I love now that, people have that opinion on this iteration of this character. It's so great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's my next recommendation. Cool. And I'll be fully nerding out on this one. Hopefully you'll be ready for that, Nabahi.
100%.
But hands down, this is my favorite superhero of all time. So
let's go.
Good day and good night, mates.
We'll see you on the next one.